If you have topics you would like to have us discuss on the Aging Well podcast, please click on the links in the episode description to send us a text or record your message or comments. We'd love to hear from you and how we can help you age well. If you benefit from the Aging Well podcast and would like to support the content financially, please click on the Support the Show link or support our affiliates and advertisers. Welcome to the Aging Well podcast. I'm Jeff Armstrong here with Corbin Bruton. In this and the episodes that follow, we will share candid discussions on aging and hear from the experts. We are here to inform and encourage as we experience, aging. This has been one of my favorite things to look forward to every year is doing this 12-week challenge. I do another one here in West Salem, Oregon. That was just this past weekend. So those are my two big events for the year to kind of get to share with people that are, doing the right things and trying to do the right challenges. So I'm going to open today. My talk today is titled Finding Your Why Not. We often talk about finding our why, but we don't always talk about finding our why not. So I'm going to open with a quote from Rudy Rudiger. I hope everybody has seen the movie Rudy. This isn't from the movie Rudy, but it is from Rudy. It says, "You've got to eliminate the confusion in your life and eliminate the excuses." So my talk today is going to be really about eliminating the excuses that are limiting our success. And so it's easy to play the blame game. And as this article from T Nation points out, we can easily blame things like our diet, our trainer, not you, Sandi. They would not blame you, of course. The food industry, fast food restaurants, the people at our gym, our partners, our kids. And that's actually an easy one, especially if they are young and somehow they grow out of it faster than we do, which is good. We could blame our parents. And I often use the quote from Per Olaf Astrand. It's one of my favorite quotes to use in class, where he said, "If you want to be an elite athlete, choose your parents wisely." And some of us didn't choose our parents so well. But we also can blame our jobs. And of course, we blame the media for giving us these unrealistic expectations. And so I want you to take a moment and look at your butt, not that butt, but
one T, not two.
Yeah, the one T. And why are you not seeing the success that you wish to see? And I believe all of us are limiting ourselves to some degree. I mean, even myself, and I'm sure, Sandi, you can even relate to things that you do or don't do that might be limiting your success in kind of hitting your fitness goals. And so there are various reasons why people may not exercise or struggle to find success with their current exercise programs. Some common reasons can include lack of time, lack of motivation, lack of enjoyment, injury or health issues, unrealistic expectations, financial constraints, social influences, environmental barriers, mental health challenges, and of course, lack of knowledge. So I often speak of opportunity costs. And when we speak of our why nots, we must consider how they strip us of the opportunities to do the things that will help us to be successful. Everything that moves us closer to everything moves us closer to our goal or farther away. And so I like to kind of think of our day as a pie. Everything we do in a day is a slice of that pie. Every day brings an opportunity for success, also brings opportunity for failure. And so what we do or don't do is ultimately our choice. And this is just kind of a rough 24-hour opportunity. And as you can see, I've kind of identified areas that really we don't have much control over. We have to work, we have to sleep, we have to plan our meals and sit down and eat our meals. And hopefully we're learning to kind of take time with those meals and prepare them. And so we're putting some time in and we're not just rushing through our meals. And there better be some time for exercise in there. Then we start looking at time that's spent with social media, watching television, time spent online, and all the other stuff that I've labeled here as, can I say bullshit? Because that's really what it is. this stuff that really just robs us of the opportunity to do those more important things. And I don't include in here even family time, time with our children, time with our spouses, our partners. There's a lot of things that we really need to do and want to do that we have to make the time to do it. And the important things are what we have to prioritize for. And I like to, in some of my classes, use the movie What About Bob? When teaching about exercise motivation and adherence. And in a recent conversation I was having with a student, the student pointed out that the fact that Bob Wiley continued to live in New York City despite his plethora of phobia, the germs, the crowded space, the people, et cetera. Why didn't Bob just move? I mean, when he was on his vacation, in air quotes there, in New Hampshire, it really proved to be healing for him. And so how much of our lack of success can be attributed to simply not being willing to move and getting out of that environment? It's okay not to like our diet. It's okay not to like our gym or our trainer, unless your trainer, again, is Sandi. And how do you not like Sandi? Right?
You have to like Sandi.
That's right. And so why stick with it if it's not working for us? And I don't know if anybody has seen the television series, My Diet's Better Than Yours. It's another one that I've used in classes in the past. And I really like it. I can't find it anymore. So you might not have the opportunity to see it now, but it was on ABC a few years back. And I used to use it in, again, my motivation adherence class and some other classes to kind of demonstrate some of the strengths and weaknesses of trainers, diets, as well as the exercisers themselves. And one of the contestants in this show, I can't remember what her name was, but she stuck with her trainer only because she was concerned with quitting things too early. She had this lifelong habit of giving up on things too soon. So she felt compelled to push through it really longer than she should have. And this trainer was horrible. It was just not a good situation. And when she finally did switch to a different trainer and a diet, that diet and that trainer were really, really good. And unfortunately, it was too late for her. She had already kind of been, I think it was like 7 weeks or more into the competition. And she had like 2 weeks with this new trainer, the new diet. He was teaching her a lot of great things. They were doing a lot of good things with her exercise. And then they suddenly turned around and said, okay, we got a twist in the competition. You're no longer going to have your trainer with you. You have to do it the rest of the way on your own. And fortunately, he had given her just enough groundwork to go forward with it and do pretty well. But unfortunately, she had switched too late. And I think if she had switched a lot earlier in the competition, she may actually have won the competition. But she was afraid to cut the cord. She felt this compulsion to stick with it because of past experiences. And so I kind of ask the question of what's holding you back? What's keeping you from your succeeding in your fitness goals? And so that's what is our why not? There are a lot of legitimate why nots. There may be some legitimacy for a why nots, not always the best legitimacy, but busy schedules can make it challenging for any of us to find the time for regular exercise. Balancing work, family, and other commitments may leave really little room for our regular physical activity. Motivation, of course, plays a critical role in sticking to an exercise routine. Without a strong incentive or goal, some may find it difficult to stay committed to regular workouts. If we don't enjoy our workouts or the type of exercise we're doing, we're obviously less likely to stick with it. Physical injuries or health conditions can hinder one's ability to exercise and also kind of make them fearful of, overexerting themselves or aggravating that existing problem. Setting unrealistic goals or expecting quick results can lead to frustration and disappointment. Some people may perceive gym memberships, personal trainers, or specialized equipment as just too expensive. And so that becomes a barrier when they're, especially if we're on a tight budget. Lack of support or encouragement from friends, family, or colleagues can impact one's commitment to exercise. Weather conditions, lack of accessible facilities, there's unsafe neighborhoods. These can all pose obstacles to outdoor or gym-based exercise. Individuals dealing with mental health issues such as depression, anxiety, Other things like that can find it challenging to muster the energy to exercise or the motivation to exercise. And some people don't know where to start or feel just simply overwhelmed by the complexity of exercise programs. If time is your issue, where are you wasting time? I worked a number of years ago with a guy who was a salesman at the health club I was working at, and he could sell anybody anything. He was not the most scrupulous guy in the world, but he was a really great salesman, and he loved to tackle that time constraint. People that were resistant to buying a membership because they said they didn't have time. He would pull out a pen and paper and say, okay, how much time are you spending doing this? How much time are you spending doing that? How much time you spend to sleep? How much time do you spend eating your meals? How much time are you spending at work? And then he starts getting into the things that, we know we really shouldn't be doing and are really wasting our time. And eventually by the end of the conversation, you couldn't honestly sit there and say, I don't have the time to exercise, because you're wasting time somewhere. We're all doing that. So we have to be honest with ourselves. Lack of time is often probably the most common, worst excuse for not exercising. So we have to ask ourselves, why don't I have the time? If it's family obligations, and that could be a real challenge, how do I work exercise into these? If we lack motivation, ask yourself why. What motivates you? What demotivates you? Make changes. Without a strong incentive or goal, we might find it very difficult to stay committed to our regular workouts. If you don't enjoy the type of exercise you're doing, find activities that are enjoyable and engaging that make the exercise journey more sustainable. I'm often asked, what's the best cardio equipment or what's the best exercise for this? And my answer is always, what do you like doing and what are you going to do consistently? Because I could say, this particular stair stepper or this treadmill, they're all the best. You're going to have the best results with that. But if you're not going to use it, it's useless. And the cheapest, crappiest piece of equipment, if you're actually going to get on it and use it, is going to be much, much more effective. And if you have an injury or health issue that's hindering your ability to exercise, there's always alternatives. There's so many different things that we can do to modify the exercise, adjust the exercise. We just can't quit. Right now, I'm dealing with a shoulder injury. It's a kind of a chronic thing. I have bad shoulders. I have a type 3 acromion, which puts me at greater risk of rotator cuff injuries and things like that. And I just kind of pushed myself a little too hard doing some weighted dips. And I don't know if I kind of strained one of the muscles or if I actually tore my labrum, but I haven't missed a workout since. I just adjust to it. I bought a Mark Bell uh, slingshot, this band that goes around your arms. It helps to kind of brace the arms a bit and give it some support in the lower position. I wear my shoulder strap. I've changed the exercise a little bit. I use like chains attached to the bar so that the weight is lighter at the bottom, gets heavier as it goes up. And there's always something I can do if I'm not feeling 100% in a certain exercise. I can make some modifications to still be able to get the workout of the workout that I want to get done. And so it's just simply kind of thinking, what are our our alternatives, excuse me, in those situations. And it's also important to have realistic expectations and understand that progress is going to take time. This is a 12-week process. And this is probably, as Sandi, I'm sure, has told you many times, is something that's going to extend beyond the 12 weeks. The 12 weeks is really more of a kickstart. It's kind of an opportunity to get a little bit more education, get a little bit more motivation. But fitness goals, whatever they are going to take time. There are no shortcuts to anything. There's no hacks that we can tap into that are going to give us faster results. We just have to simply put the work in. So we got to map out our strategy, have a plan. What's my end goal and how much time do I have? How am I going to get there? If we're operating on a really tight budget, prioritize your health and fitness goals. Might have to sacrifice budget. Remember opportunity costs. Are there things that we are spending money on that could go toward a gym membership or a new piece of equipment that might kind of help facilitate our exercise a little bit more effectively? How much do we spend at, insert coffee shop for how much are lattes anymore? I'm a black coffee kind of guy. So, and even my black coffee is going to be like
$2.50, $3, which is ridiculous to me. That's my Scottish blood kicking in. But what can we cut in our budgets in order to have the budget necessary to do what we need to do for our goals? And if it's looking at a food budget for weight management, what can we not buy? And I hate to say this, Sandy, but we could maybe cut out a bottle of wine once a week or something like that.
No.
I said maybe, and I hate to say
I
it,
mean, okay, okay.
but again, that that may be part of the priority. It's like, no, that's something that's really important to me. Like for my wife and I, we sit down, we do what I call my 15-minute check-in on a pretty much nightly basis. And we'll sit down and have a glass of wine or a beer. She's suddenly trying these near beers, the non-alcoholic beers, which I took a taste of one of those, and it's like I can't do that. But if that's important and it helps build relationships, it helps us socially, it helps us psychologically, then okay, that's not something we want to cut out because that's giving us more hurt than it is benefit. What are the things that we really, really don't need? And we can go through our budgets, I'm sure, and figure out the things that we really absolutely don't need or could sacrifice for the sake of our fitness. So kind of keeping that in mind. Um, Find positive social influences. And I think this is one of the greatest benefits of a challenge like this one, where you're making the social connectedness, you're interacting with other people that are going through some of the same struggles, you're finding people that might help you kind of partner in this journey, because it's not something we can do alone. I work out alone in the garage, but I don't think I could do it entirely alone. It helps it for me being a professor. I have a little bit more of that social connectedness with my students that they hold me accountable. If I'm going to be a 60 something professor and I want to be a right example to my students, I got to be in shape. And so to be in shape, I got to do the work. And so I know every morning it's getting up and doing it partly for them, but I have 2 kids, I have a wife, and I have to consider, who are the important social influences in my life that help me keep me motivated. And then if unfavorable weather conditions are causing us problems, or we have a lack of facilities, we live in an unsafe neighborhood, those are obstacles to our exercise. Find alternatives, not excuses. And I know that our communities could do a lot better job of creating environments that are more welcoming for exercise. And if that's our community, maybe part of what we have to do is not only find alternatives for ourselves, but kind of speak out to our representatives and, do it for other people as well. But don't allow like the weather or the fact that the gym is too far away or it doesn't open early enough, all those things to be excuses. Find alternatives that'll help us to kind of stick with our goals. And then if you find it challenging to muster the energy or motivation to exercise, you got to do it anyway. One of my analogies that I always use with my students, I hate exercise. I will say that right now on the air in front of all of you, I don't like exercising. And as an exercise physiologist, got to look at me like, what? Don't you love exercise? I'm skeptical of people who love exercise. I know a lot of distance runners and they talk about how much they love running. It's like, you're not running hard enough then, or there's something unscrewed in your brain, because exercise is hard. It hurts. It doesn't feel good. But I use the analogy of the person who's taking a 2x4 and banging himself in the head. And you say, why are you doing that? Because it feels so good when I stop. And I know that if I exercise, say, an hour out of the day, I have 23 other hours in the day that I'm going to feel a heck of a lot better. And so I can sacrifice that pain for the moment to feel better throughout the day, because I know if I don't spend that time exercising, I'm going to feel like crap the rest of the day. And so better to feel crappy for an hour rather than 24 hours. And so if we don't have that energy, do it anyhow. I know it sounds harsh to some, but that just might be the reality, that we just need to do it. I see Gina's applauding me there. And maybe find the people that are going to help motivate us as well. Find a buddy, hire a trainer, hire Sandi to be your trainer to motivate you. Seek counseling if it's maybe if it's a bit of a mental health issue, it's depression or something like that, there's nothing wrong with seeking counseling to help get the motivation that's going to help you reach those goals. And I would also add, seek guidance from a qualified fitness professional and do some research. There's a lot of unqualified professionals out there. I try to stress to my students all the time that one of the most important things I'm trying to teach them is how to tease out some of the BS that we can find in some of these so-called social influencers that are painting, this pathway to health and all that other kind of stuff that really don't know what they're talking about, or what they're doing might work for them, but it's not necessarily going to work for you as an individual. And I heard of this thing recently called the internet, and I understand you can find a lot of information there. And so just, use the internet. But the key is, again, to sort out the good information from the BS. And so this is where, resources like Sandi or this program is so important. Ask questions, seek out knowledgeable people at the gym. Don't just seek out the person that looks the best, but seek out the person who seems to know what they're doing, and maybe even somebody who has been on the journey that you're on. That person that maybe isn't looking the most fit, but that's the person who just lost 50 pounds, or just got off their blood pressure medication, or is no longer diabetic, or whatever it might be that's kind of the health issue that we might be facing. So seek out the knowledgeable people at the gym. Don't assume that just because they look fit, they know what they're doing. Find the people that are knowledgeable. It's important to recognize these barriers or our why nots and address them appropriately and create a more conducive environment for regular physical activity. So we want to tailor our exercise routine to our individual preferences and address our specific challenges. And doing so will significantly increase our chances of success. And so I just lost my headset. So sorry about that. I lost my headset. But this is the point where I ask questions. If anybody has any questions or any kind of more that I can discuss, or a chance for you to kind of pick my brain a little bit, as limited as that brain might be.
I discussed my epigenetics test with True Diagnostic co-founder Hannah Wendt in episode 162. Epigenetic testing measures baseline and changes in your pace of aging, giving you the power to steer your anti-aging or health and wellness journey in the right direction. I learned that I am aging well. Click on the affiliate link in the episode description, use the promo code AGEWELL, and receive a 12% discount on your epigenetics test and monitor your pace of aging.
He's got a huge brain. You guys need to pick it as best you can.
Yeah, I'm really not bald. I just got a big head.
Yeah. I do love some of the points you made, and we talk about these a lot every year at the 12-week challenge. And one of those is knowledge is power. And when you really take a good hard look at how many hours a day am I wasting? If I'm tired every day and I just don't have the energy to work out, what does my bedtime routine look like? What does my nutrition look like? And once you start delving into that and really finding out why and why not, why can't I do this? Or why should, what is my why not? And now knowledge is power. Once you know something, you can't unknow it. Once you know that you're wasting valuable time when you could be sleeping, you can't unknow that. And that really can change your perspective on, well, sleep is really important to me. And if I just went to bed half hour earlier, I might have the energy to get up and have a great workout.
Yeah, and it's some of those things that might be disrupting our sleep pattern. I mean, that's one of the things I stress the most is sleep is really important. It's one of probably the 5 things I say is critical for longevity and good health. One is not smoking, one is exercising regularly and physical activity, maintaining a healthy body composition, having a healthy diet. But that sleep hygiene is really, really important. What are you doing before bed too? Because that can help you sleep or it can hinder your sleep. If you're on your screen, on your computer or on your phone, and then, turn the light off and go to sleep, you're not going to sleep as well. And so what are you doing that's preparing you to get ready to have a good quality night's sleep? If you're not sleeping well, get checked out. There's a lot of people who go through life with sleep apnea and don't even know it. And there's increasing number of health issues that we're finding that are tied to just not sleeping very well. And so, Debbie, you are up. You're muted though.
Yeah. Okay. I was just going to ask you how important sleep is.
It's very important. And I have a bedtime. I always joke about that with my students. I go to bed like 9:30 at the latest because I got to get up about 4:30 to, get my workout in and, get my daughter to school and then drive an hour to campus and teach my classes. And so it's critical that I get up early, but I think it's even more critical that I have a regular sleep pattern, because a lot of times we say, okay, I got my 8 hours sleep, but that 8 hours is different every night. That's okay. It's good, but it's much better, even if we're not getting enough sleep. I mean, there's a famous Arnold quote where he says, if you're not sleeping 6 hours, if you're sleeping more than 6 hours, sleep faster. I look at that and say, okay, here's a guy who was as fit as he was fit, and he apparently only slept 6 hours a night. We can get by with 6 and recover from exercise and do all that. Now, granted, he had a little bit of assistance hormonally to be successful, but that's beside the point. As long as it's regular sleep, it's much healthier than irregular sleep. You've been getting 10 hours of irregular sleep. That's not going to be necessarily as good as getting 6 hours consistently every night, where you go to bed at the same time, get up the same time. And that includes the weekends. I know a lot of times we tend to think, well, I got the weekend, I can sleep in. That throws our sleep cycle off a little bit more. And a lot of our hormones, especially like cortisol, is tied to our sleep cycles. And so cortisol is, it's an important regulatory hormone. We tend to think of it as a stress hormone, but it's really much more of a regulatory hormone. And we want our cortisol levels to be high in the morning and then slow down and get smaller at night. And that cycle follows our normal circadian rhythms. And so if we're getting regular sleep, we're going to have a more balanced hormonal setup. And we're probably also going to be able to manage our days a lot better. So yeah, I would say it is very, very important.
Well, when it comes to me and my sleep, it is not consistent. I mean, I've had the sleep problem for 30 years. And most of the time I sleep maybe anywhere from 4 to 6 hours. If I get 6 hours, that is a good night.
Now, is it quality sleep? I mean, how do you feel when you wake up in the morning?
I feel like crap.
Yeah.
I don't feel good. That is my worst thing, is sleeping. And I've been working with Sandi for a while, and she knows. She's like, oh, Debbie has the fitness and the exercise and the eating and all that, but she knows my sleep is terrible. She knows.
Now,
and it's something I try and work at.
Do you just stay up too late and get up too early, or is it just not good quality sleep?
I can, like, my husband has to get up at 5 a.m, and sometimes I'm just going to sleep at 5 a.m. I have a hard time turning my brain off. My brain is always going. I just can't stop worrying. I can't stop thinking. I think that's my biggest thing. It takes me a long time to fall asleep. And then when I do fall asleep, it's not very good because I have, it's just sporadic. My sleep is just so bad. And I'm so tired of trying to find answers. And I won't do the medicines anymore because they don't help. I won't take any of the sleep medication because that just makes you worse and groggy. And, it's a vicious cycle. I feel like I'm in a hamster on a wheel going backwards, not forwards.
Well, at least you found your why not. Now it's just a matter of how do we fix that? And, I think a lot of it is going to be looking at, what are you doing at the end of the day that might be impairing that sleep? It's like, what types of activities are you doing or not doing that cause you to kind of just have your brain so active at night? Maybe it's, maybe you just need to do a few things to kind of unwind at the end of the day, maybe journaling or, listening to some relaxing music. Maybe even a glass of wine, something, relaxing that, just.
Now we're talking.
Yeah.
Now we're talking.
I mean, certainly, alcohol can actually disrupt our sleep, but it can also have a certain beneficial effect. And, there's that balance in anything that, too much is bad. The right amount is good. So I think one certain thing is, do you have a regular time of trying to go to bed where you lay down, you get to bed, turn the lights out, and attempt to go to sleep? Or is it, you go to sleep as soon as you feel tired and you have just been doing a bunch of stuff? I wouldn't watch I wouldn't watch any news, period, but
Nope.
don't watch the nightly news or anything that's going to
Especially right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And Debbie, one of the things that Jeff mentioned, or you mentioned, and Jeff mentioned, was you have a hard time turning your brain off. Do you journal, or have you tried writing things down and keeping, getting all those thoughts down on paper so that they're not swimming around in your head? And the second thing Jeff mentioned was, have you tried even if you're not tired, have you tried like laying down at a certain time every single night, turning the lights off, journaling for half an hour, turning the lights off, and just resting and seeing if your body will allow you to fall asleep? Have you tried something like that?
I have, and it hasn't been. I'm just not very good at journaling. I'm not good at meditation. I think meditation really sucks. I mean, you have to turn your brain off to meditate. And when you can't turn your brain off, it's really hard to meditate. So I don't do that. What I have been doing lately is I went back to reading. And I'm not reading self-help books. I'm not doing any of that. I'm reading romance novels. I'm not doing anything to make my I'm just reading romance novels to relax me. And I have noticed that is helping. But I'll go to sleep, and then 3 hours later, I'm awake. And then I wake up and I'm awake. And then so that's when I pick up my book now and I start reading. And then I'll read for a couple hours. And by then I'll be back asleep again. But that breaks it up where I can't get up in the morning. So it's like, I don't know. I keep working at it, seeing what I can do. My husband has no problems going to sleep. So, sometimes I just want to bonk him over the head and say, you can go to sleep so easy. But I can exercise. I can do everything all day long and run around and clean and do whatever, run errands and stuff. And you think you'd be tired, and I'm not tired.
Yeah.
Well, I am tired, but my eyes just have a hard time. So I'll take, everything you guys are saying and go and try it. I'm always willing to try. I have to try. That's all you can do is try.
Yep. It sounds like you're on a good path, though. It sounds like you're making some significant efforts and good things, doing good things with that. So
yeah, I think just keep at it.
Points. On Sandy's challenge, it says try and get 7 hours of sleep. I'm trying really hard.
Is that for the week, or is that every night?
Every night.
It's supposed to be every night. And it's progress, not perfection. Everything is progress, not perfection. So,
well, good luck
with
it.
Sharing, Debbie.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I think Gina has a question.
I did. So I commend you, Debbie, first of all, for trying new things and working at it, because I think that's important. And in some degree, it does kind of tie along with my question. So I am not an elite athlete in any sense of the word, nor do I pretend to be, but I do enjoy participating in certain events and races. Most recently, last year, I participated in a triathlon, and it was just the one thing I did during the year. This year, my goal is to do a half marathon. So my question is, what is the harm in the body, being that I train for a certain amount of time, and then like after the event itself, I really taper back big time. So my event this past year was in August, and of course the holidays hit, tapered back significantly, and I'm just now picking things back up, being in Sandy's challenge. So what are some of your recommendations or things that I should be watchful for with my physical being? Am I harming myself, doing more harm than good in having that kind of a lenient schedule?
I'd say you're probably doing more good than harm, because you are at least ramping up to an activity, even though you taper off after it. Again, kind of keeping with the theme of the, why not, I guess the question to ask would be, well, why are you not kind of persisting in at least a certain level of maintenance exercise after you do the event, and would maybe some smaller, more frequent events. There's a lot of weekend 5Ks and things like that. Would that kind of keep you on a track where, you're not training like an, elite athlete where you're having to perform at all times, but to just be able to maintain that fitness over the course of the year, as opposed to having to kind of catch up again for the next opportunity. Consistency can sometimes be a lot better than, hard effort for a period of time and then tapering off and having to ramp it back up again. I always tell my students that maintenance is the best way to longevity and fitness, because, when you look at like the fitness norms, I was just looking at like bench pressing norms the other day in class. And I showed them that if I'm in my 20s and I bench 200, my body weight, 225 pounds, I'm in the fair category for fitness. Now at 60, if I do that, I'm like superhuman. And it's like, why is that? It's because everybody else in my age group has not been working out, not doing anything significant, and their fitness levels begin to taper off very rapidly over time. Whereas if you maintain just that moderate level of fitness, you actually are kind of getting more fit as time goes on, and, relative to your peers. And so I would say, just try to figure out a way not to be in like a constant improvement or feeling like you're always training for a race, but just kind of trying to maintain that level of performance where you're comfortable. And every year you're going to be able to do that one event without having to overstress your body in order to get ready for it, where you can be a little bit more relaxed going into it and just try and maintain. Does that make sense?
It does. I like that a lot. The consistency. I don't know why that didn't click in my head, but yeah, and doing the smaller, I do. I did this and I go for it. And then immediately after, I'm like, oh, okay, it's done. It's behind me. Woohoo. But the consistency, I love that, because I actually do feel a lot better when I am exercising, but I definitely don't put that pressure on myself to keep moving forward. So
I mean, think how much we do that with dieting. We lose all this weight. You guys are going to lose a ton of weight in this challenge, and then it's over. And it's like suddenly the goal is over and there's no maintenance goal. We're back up, maybe even higher than we were, and so next year's rolls around and you have more weight to have to lose. And it just keeps creeping up because we never actually kind of stick to a moderate level of achievement and just hold on to that.
I agree 100%, because man, that's actually in my mind more damaging and discouraging. So I don't know why consistency, even at that level, did not click in my head, because I'm all about consistency when I'm training.
You've found your why not now too. So we're on a roll here, finding our why nots.
Yeah, and this is kind of a question for everybody. After your next event that you're training for, have you thought about going ahead and registering for, like what Jeff was saying, register for a couple of 5Ks within a few weeks after your event, just to keep you on track? And that way you already have something you're committed to. It's a time sensitive goal, and you can share that with everyone in the 12-week challenge to be accountable to it. And then you already have something you're looking forward to doing after your significant event. You can taper it down, but now you have something else to go for. And posing that question to everyone, has everyone thought of future goals past April 22nd, when this challenge ends, to stay with that consistency?
Yeah, great recommendation. I'm going to have to get serious about it and commit again, recommit to myself.
Awesome.
You know what, Gina? I'm just gonna. I don't toot my horn too much, but last year when I weighed at the end of the challenge, I went to weigh this year. I'd only gained half a pound. I stayed consistent the whole year. I know, right?
Congratulations.
I was so excited. But the one thing I did is, I like to run, but I don't. My longest distance has been a 10K. And I really enjoyed that. And I did it last year, and I want to do it again this year. But I do these virtual runs, and it's called We'll Run for Bling. And you get silly little necklaces and stuff. but you have to run so many miles and you just keep track of your miles and everything. And they have a Facebook page. And that's what keeps me to be consistent is I want that medal. It's blingy, it's like they have a summer one and it has like glasses or sunglasses and stuff like that. But I like doing that. And that's what keeps me consistent. And I think that's what really helped me to maintain my weight, not, watching what I'm eating and all that. But I think being able to do those little challenges has helped me. So maybe that might be something you want to do.
I didn't realize those virtual runs were supposed to be actual runs. I thought I was just supposed to lay there and visualize that I was running. No wonder they don't work.
Jeff's got jokes. I love it.
Well, I was being serious there.
I like my virtual runs.
Sarah just put in the chat that I can't access my chat anymore. Where we go? Sarah said, I don't have an event goal, but I'm working to stay more consistent and make small changes that I can keep up the long term. And that's awesome.
Nice. And she's got a great last name.
Yes, she does. I do have to give a shout out to every single person in this challenge this year. This is the smallest challenge that I've had since the start of the challenge, but this is by far the most motivated, on point, positive, just encouraging group I've ever had. The folks that are engaged in this year have been the most outstanding ever. And I don't think I've ever said that. And if I have, these guys have topped it. They're so incredibly active, doing things for one another. It's very inclusive. They are being very real, very transparent about things they're struggling with. And also, probably more important, they're celebrating their accomplishments. And I think people are afraid to do that because they don't we don't want to toot our own horn because it sounds like we're being, arrogant, but they are celebrating their successes, and that is huge. And I think that's leading to a lot of success this year that we haven't seen in past events. So I just think this group is absolutely outstanding.
That's great. They are quality over quantity. Absolutely.
And you are the most requested speaker out of the entire 11 years I've ever done this challenge.
I'm not sure why, but
everybody asks every year. There's several people that ask every year, is that professor guy going to do a talk again?
I'm blushing.
Aw.
Well, I'm going to chime in now.
Amazing information.
Yeah, I think Jania has a question.
Yeah.
He's been patient.
I'm going to chime in now and say I think the main reason why people request you so often is because you're real and you don't mince words and you state the obvious, and sometimes we don't even see ourselves.
Well, I appreciate that. Sandi keeps me honest with that. She's always comments about my no bullshit approach, and I have to live up to that now. So.
Oh yeah, you do. So my question is, a lot of people walk into this with chronic diseases. And I know you mentioned this in your talk, and I know I missed part of it, and I apologize. I was stuck in another meeting. How, because chronic diseases, they tend to wax and wane too. You have good moments and you have bad moments. And sometimes you don't even realize that you're caught up in it and depression hits on top of it, or the anxiety from the depression hits. And then you're stuck with rambling thoughts that rolls into insomnia. And then you're having sleep deprived symptoms throughout the day. And then you become manic. I mean, it's like a whole snowballing effect. How do you suggest that we combat all that and stop that vicious cycle?
I think it's got to be a multifaceted approach. One of the things that I've kind of instituted in our exercise science program is this theme of everything in exercise science is biomechanical psychosocial. And we hear biopsychosocial a lot when it comes to medicine. Unfortunately, a lot of our medical profession is all focused on pharmacological treatments and, just treating the biology. If you're depressed, obviously there's something going on in your brain here, take this drug and that'll treat it. But there's a lot more going on in there. And I owe one of my former colleagues now, unfortunately, she left us last year. She's technically kind of still with us. She's actually in your neck of the woods, Sandy. She's working for the USOC. Lex Gidley, who is our biomechanics professor. If you ever come across her, tell her I'm still disappointed she left us, but embrace her in your community because she's really awesome. But we were having this conversation and she said, oh no, but it's biomechanical psychosocial, because our ability to move and move effectively is going to have an impact on our biology, how we're able to deal with the various conditions we have. And if the condition is leading to, mechanical changes that cause us to not move quite as well, that's going to impact our exercise. But it also impacts, as you said, Jenny, our psychological well-being and our social well-being. And it can begin to isolate us socially. It can begin to make us feel depressed. And it is going to just become this downward, spiral of events that are going to make it harder and harder for us to be effective in our exercise. And so I would say, when we're dealing with those things, we have to understand that our exercise goals, our fitness goals are much broader than just the exercise science piece of it. And there's a spiritual component to it. There's our intellectual component to it. There's the physical component. There's this emotional, there's the social components. And so if we're struggling with those things, there's nothing wrong with seeking, you seek a physical trainer, a personal trainer. Why not a therapist or somebody that can give us that, the mental training that we need, but also find supportive people that are going to help us through those events as well. Because if the people around us aren't supportive in our exercise programs, we're not going to be effective. We're always going to have somebody trying to pull us down the ladder. And so it really has to be considered that really broader biomechanical psychosocial approach. And if those are the struggles, if that's the why not, then what can we do to better our mental health, our emotional well-being, our self-efficacy, all those fancy psychological terms that we might throw out there to be able to accomplish our goals effectively. Did that answer the question?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I never thought of it as a biomechanical approach, but then that comes into play, like with what Debbie was saying. She likes to run, but she hates to meditate. And there's a part where I've had somebody tell me it's okay to meditate in motion. So if running helps you to meditate, then maybe some other movement can help you to meditate, to quiet down the brain.
That's a really good point. Maybe yoga?
That's a great point.
We're healing everybody here. This is where, it takes a village.
And this is why the 12-week challenge, having the Facebook page and all these workshops where we can meet in person has really helped me, because I learned so much last year that I'm going to be a diehard 12-week challenger now moving forward.
Yeah, and I don't know. You're going to be in competition. I don't know if she's still on the call. Yeah, Nicole's still on the call. Nicole is probably the diehard. Her and Nikki, which I don't think Nikki's on the call, but Nicole and Nikki, I think, they're close to that. I think they're tied at around 8 years doing this challenge.
Wow.
So, and they're just amazing, amazing people, just amazing examples, and they're just amazing. Yeah.
I was going to tell her, challenge accepted.
I don't know. You got 8 years ahead of me now.
It's okay. You just got to be consistent from your starting point.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I feel like we're on a roll. This has been fun.
And if you guys are not aware, Jeff is an outstanding host of a podcast called Aging Well, and has several years of content now, right?
Yeah, we're into our third year. I think we're around our 130th episode is aired already.
Yeah.
So, Sandy's been on a few times.
Yeah, if you guys are looking for some great topics and just great conversation with some amazing people, Jeff is just a plethora of knowledge and information, motivation, everything.
You always shoot topics my way too. We're always looking for things to talk about.
Nicole, you can find them. You're on Buzzsprout. You're on Spotify. What are all the platforms your podcast is
Yeah,
on?
pretty much almost anywhere where you can get podcasts. I think we're available. I know we're on the Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify, Google, and I know there's other ones that kind of pop up. So we're pretty much out on most of them.
Jeff, you said you turned 60 or you're in your 60s or
I'm in my
if you don't mind me
60s.
asking?
Yeah. So I guess
Okay.
once you turn 60, you're in your 60s, right? So my birthday is April 30th. And so I'm closing in on 61.
Oh my
And,
gosh.
I'm excited for that. I never thought I would enjoy getting old because it's a challenge for me now. I mean, you guys talking about your challenges. It's like, if I'm going to be preaching all this stuff, it's important for me to be doing it. And, the more I can have my students say, there's no way you're 60. I do strength and conditioning for our local wrestling team. And I love on occasion, just they start getting a little cocky in a room. I'll pick up the weight that they just lifted easier than they did. And they look at me like, oh, how old are you? So
I'm in my 60s and
you don't look it.
oh, thank you. See, that's what I work towards.
Yeah. I think that should just be one of our biggest goals in life is for people not to, when you give your age, they say, no way, you're lying, Well,
I like
we're
it
in our
better when I
20s.
say
What's that?
huh? I like it better when people say, "Oh, you don't look that," and I say, "Oh, but I'm a grandma too."
I'm not a grandpa though. I was a little slow on the social side, so I didn't get married until I was like about 40. And my son was born, I was 41. So, right.
Good for you.
No, actually I was older than that. I think I was 42. Yeah. So he's 18 now. On that, but it's kind of fun to be that parent. I'm around 40-year-olds and I feel like I keep up with them pretty well. In some cases, I feel like I'm ahead of them. And so it just kind of keeps that goal going that, and I don't want to be the normal ager, where you just start getting fatter and slower and everything else, weaker. We talk about old man strength a few times on the podcast. And I always wonder, why don't they talk about old woman strength? Because women get strong too. But I guess that sounds a little bit more offensive, but it also points out how offensive sounding old man strength is. So I made a comment to my students recently that I want to get to the point where people start referring to it as Armstrong strength. I got a ways to go for that.
Sarah would second that motion.
Yeah. So what else? What else can we talk about? I just edit out the silence whenever I do the podcast, so that's okay.
Anybody else have any other questions?
That's it for this year. I wish I was able to engage a little bit more in some of the other presentations because there's always a lot of great hosts and speakers on this challenge, but this year has been really, really busy with good coaching and everything else. So missing out on some of that, but I might try and still jump in on a few of them here and there.
Yeah. Well, we will definitely post the link to this in the Facebook page for everyone that could not make it. I know we have a few police officers that are working shifts and, but other families that have, child, their sports events and stuff for their children and everything. But so you may get a few more questions thrown in the Facebook group if you're okay with that.
I'm fine with that. That'd be great.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity and I hope I'm back again next year. I hope it's not, oh yeah, why did we say we want the professor back after last year? No, Sandy, no, not him. So hope to be back. All right. Well, good luck to you all on your challenge. I hope you all come out ahead. Thank you for listening. I hope you benefited from today's podcast. And until next time, keep aging well.